This episode is totally unique, but I'm Olivia from the Fashion Fables podcast, and I am so excited to be collabing with Delia today for a special episode.
Yes, I'm so excited. So, I'm Delia. I am the host of the Modish Podcast, and it's basically like a fashion podcast. And I'm starting to do a little bit more of like lifestyle and throw in some random fun episodes, but I mainly do focus on fashion.
So, we're going to get right into it. So, I'm going to ask Delia the first question. So, as a podcast host, how often do you record new episodes, and how do you come up with the ideas when just deciding on what topics to talk about?
So it definitely depends on the week because sometimes, especially during school, I would even go like weeks without recording, but I would have like pre-recorded ones. Or when you contact a guest, it's really hard to try to like do the same like you don't normally have the same time zone because I'm like Mountain Standard Time. I'm from Utah. And so my guess will be like mainly East Coast or possibly Central, but normally East Coast. And so it just depends like when they're able to. So some weeks I do record like literally like 5 podcasts like in one week and then I'm good for like a month. Or I have, at least lately, I have been recording like basically every single week I do record with somebody. So yeah, so it's kind of sporadic, but I'm trying to get on a schedule. And yeah, so my podcast comes out every single Monday. And as far as the topics and ideas, I do just like when I first started my podcast, I did just create like a Google Doc, wrote down like a million ideas in case, I like go through a phase where I don't know what to talk about. But normally I do work with my guests. Like if they specialize in something or, have like a cool experience, I try to center it around them. But if not, we just do like a fun episode that I randomly came up with.
Yeah, I love that. I think being podcaster, like a big part of it is being creative. Like I think a podcast is like an outlet where you should feel free to kind of, I don't know, just be yourself and create episodes that are individual and unique to you as well as kind of catering to your guests. And I think that's what makes it so much fun and so enjoyable. So I definitely agree and I do the same.
Yeah, it's like so hard. Like you like I feel like people don't realize like it does sound like a casual thing because podcasting is compared to like YouTube and other platforms, but you do have to be like very like responsible and on top of it because you have to like record, schedule, like edit and then upload. So it is a lot more work.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into it. I know people just usually just see like the episode posted on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but I definitely think it's you have to be very on top of things like you said. But actually like at the end of the day, it's usually what we enjoy doing, so we don't mind it and it's so much fun. But yeah, definitely hard work.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I mean, it even took me a while because I don't know if it's the same for you, but I feel like I had to find my podcast voice. Like I'm still working on it, but at the beginning versus where I'm at now, I'm so much better at like talking.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree. I think just being like confident and speaking clearly, and just kind of like speaking freely, not really thinking about the record button being on, you know what I mean? Because sometimes that can make you like anxious or nervous, kind of just speaking and being who you are. I think that's what makes your followers and listeners so engaged, is kind of being authentic and being yourself. Because no one really wants like filtered talk. I think being natural is like the best way to go.
no, exactly. Exactly. And I feel like those are the popular podcasts anyways. Like they're just so casual. It just feels like, you're like in the room with them or they're just talking to you. It's not as like robotic like you mentioned. But I guess how long have you done podcasting and what was your inspiration to start?
So this is a really good question, and I've actually been like thinking about it a lot, just like thinking about like when I started and then kind of like how far it's come. So I decided to create a podcast for my like freshman English course. It was just so random, and my topic was actually fashion because I've always like loved fashion, like all that stuff. I've always followed like fashion Instagram accounts and like followers that were influencers and like all that stuff. So I really enjoyed it. And so one of my friends back home was actually, I don't know, into all the media stuff. And he was like encouraging me. He's like, you should like start an actual podcast. And so I thought about the idea and I was like, this is actually like not a bad idea. So I ended up starting it. And it's been like one of the best decisions I've ever made. I started in November. Also, like with me personally, I always felt like there was something more I could be doing. Like I'm in my major in college is broadcast journalism, so I love like the film, video, and I always love public speaking. And so what better idea than to start a podcast on topics that I love and that topics I could educate people. And I had so many fun ideas. And so this was the perfect chance for me to kind of broaden my horizons and speak on topics that I personally had a passion for, and wanted to just share with a greater audience. I love posting, creating content each day. Like I never feel like it's something else I have to do, or I never feel like it's a bother. Like I love being creative. Maybe it has to do with being a lefty. I don't know. They say lefties are creative, but yeah, I love it, and I love being able to like have that like podcast, but also have like a digital platform like my Instagram where I'm able to kind of create my feed, and like it just represents me and like what I stand for. And it seems like my audience engages with it and stuff as well. So I love it. And I was a little hesitant at first, but once I got things rolling, it was so much fun. And I would say my favorite part is having like awesome guests and being able to teach people at least one thing is probably my goal. I have many different guests and they all have something unique to share. I think that if someone can kind of learn something or be inspired, that would like be so fulfilling for me, and that's what makes me want to keep continuing with it each day.
Yeah, I can completely agree. Like, it definitely is fun. Like, I know I have some like rough days where it's normally like when you have a guest, and sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, like, you just are in one of those moods where you're like, oh, I don't really feel like talking to somebody, or you've had a hard day. So
Uh-huh.
that's when, like, because whenever I record by myself, like it's just you, even though I have like multiple mess ups when I do it by myself. But then when I record with a guest, it's like no retakes, it just flows.
Right. I agree. And I think, I don't know, I think sometimes it's good just to be natural rather than keep recording like a million times, just because you can always kind of edit out parts that like you don't feel are like making you sound the best. But I think that like literally whatever you say is there's something that's gonna teach somebody. So I think kind of just being confident about it and just knowing that you're like doing this podcast for a reason, like this is like your gift and you enjoy it, so just having fun with it and stuff I think is really good, and not taking it too seriously. I know that can be hard because you're like, oh my god, like people are listening to this and I have to sound a certain way, but just being natural in yourself I think is the best to do this.
Yeah, which is definitely interesting because I've only started like my podcast. I think it was like in the fall, like fall 2020. And it is kind of just crazy how people do listen. Like when you first start, you're like, oh, yeah, maybe like two people will consistently listen. But then you have like way more than two listen like every single week. And it always like amazes me that there's so many people that actually care and like they look forward to listening to it. So
Yeah, definitely.
it
It's such
definitely,
a
like,
feeling.
everybody makes a big impact in their own way. Like I do think that people like listening to, honestly, like even my friends, like I like listening to like what they have to say about things. I do love podcasting also just because it's like it doesn't focus on anything to do with your appearance. It like genuinely is a way for people to actually listen to you like as a person,
I agree.
rather than judging you on anything else.
I agree, and I think you can learn so much like just from like any episode. Like if you really listen, there's something that you can learn, and I think that's what keeps me wanting to do it as well, cuz like if I can kind of make a difference in someone's life like through my podcast, I think that's like amazing, and that's kind of what I hope to do. So I think everything there's so many aspects of podcasting that I just really love, and I'm glad that I'm able to kind of collaborate with podcasters like you who feel the same.
Yeah, I
So,
love it. It's so fun.
I know. So let's go into the next question. So, what makes your podcast unique and special?
I definitely think because like I never even listened to any fashion podcast before I started mine, and like right before I started I did try to like look it up to see, if I could just search and see if there were any like fashion podcasts, like are there anybody doing like what I would have been like starting. And
Right.
I didn't really find any, like in the sense that like of the way that I do it and I talk about it, because I do try to like make it like just like very relatable. Like I am somebody that myself am on a fashion journey where I'm trying to figure out like how can I be like more stylish, more fashionable, how can I educate myself? And then I like love trends and how they're like, happening, even though right now they're happening way too fast.
No, yeah.
um but I think it's great to just, like be able to also learn how to make trends wearable, because I do feel like there's so many trends that if you're from a small town or just anywhere, like you're not going to change overnight, like it's not like the movies where you're just like some little princess girl and then you go like crazy goth, you know what I mean? Like
I know.
you definitely want like a transition, and like you want to be stylish, but you're not trying to do anything that's like,
Oh my God,
too out
imagine.
there.
Imagine you change that fast. That'd be crazy.
No, exactly. And so I feel like mine is definitely unique. Well, I mean, I did find yours. So I did find the Fashion Fables, but actually on Instagram. And so that's why I reached out and I was like, hey, like, let's collab, because I was so excited to find somebody like around my age that's like doing a similar thing. And,
Oh, yes.
I feel like there's not a lot of us out there doing kind of like what we do, and around our age.
Especially, we are pretty young. Like, I didn't realize like a lot of podcasters are kind of like a lot older, like at least graduated all from like college and like I don't know, kind of settled in with their lives. So I think it's brave of us to kind of take on this new adventure, and it's so much fun. I don't think the age has to do really with anything. I think if you have a passion, like you should just go for it.
No, literally. That is like one of my like life things is, like I hate when people are like, "Oh, I'm not really ready." Like there are some cases where you do have to in a sense kind of get prepared for certain things, but it's just like you can just start it. If you want to start a podcast, just you can even record on your phone. Like I did like order a mic and everything, but you can like record on your phone. Like you can start from just like nothing, and the most important thing is just to start. You don't have to practice, you don't have to make sure you have all the fancy equipment, like
I agree.
literally just start.
Yeah, I agree. Like I literally started using like my voice memos, you know what I mean? And like obviously it evolves, but you don't really need much. Like you just need yourself and like the confidence within, the willpower to just start new. And honestly, over time with like hard work and stuff, it's gonna grow. Like it's gonna be bound to happen if you keep putting in the work and you keep showing like consistency and stuff. Like your followers are gonna notice and you're gonna keep gaining a following and all that fun stuff. So I think it's just a matter of starting.
Yeah, which I think is the most important thing is consistency. And I feel like that's maybe like the hardest part of podcasting, because you either have to like plan ahead or, have some type of schedule, because people aren't really going to like come back if you're releasing like random times, random months,
Exactly.
so it definitely is that. And yeah, just kind of like going back to the question too, I definitely think like my podcast, I also like to look at it as like a fashion forecast. So it's like just all of the condensed information from like TikTok, YouTube, high end fashion, everything. Like I like to just condense it and let, you guys know like what are the trends, like what's going on, what, should you wear, and then at the same time just being like real and relatable. Like I mentioned several times, I'm like a broke college student. Like I have like body image issues, like I lose weight and I gain weight, and just all that. And then also kind of like what you mentioned earlier is just like having guests come on. Like I really value like bringing on other people other than just myself talking all the time, because
Exactly.
they are like seriously like they're like girl bosses. Like I swear they're doing like way more than me for sure. But they're just super like motivating and like inspiring. They do like amazing things. Like I've interviewed people that literally are living like basically my dream life, and they have like awesome things that are coming up in their life. And so I think it's just an awesome way to connect with people and network, of course.
Oh my God, I so agree. Like having guests, I'm like I look up to like all my guests. Like I think they're amazing. Like even after like I have them on my podcast, like a lot of them are YouTubers, so like I'll tune into their episode, like their channel and like watch their videos, and like I'll literally be inspired. Like they'll post like they'll have like a candle in their video, and then I'll go ahead and be like, "Oh my God, like I want this." You know what I mean? I think it's just like a whole network that you make through podcasting, and I think that's so important how you build like actual real life relationships. Like it's not just like, okay, I'm gonna record one time with this person and then I'll never speak to them again. Like most of the guests I have, like we follow each other on Instagram. It's like a mutual thing. Like we comment on each other's photos. It's just like a really fun like community, and I think that's what also like continues like to be such a thing for me to love, because I always find like new inspiration, and like because obviously I don't know everything about fashion and lifestyle, like nobody does, but I think by having guests and like expanding your knowledge is just so important, and it just I love it. That's like I don't know what else to say.
Right? No, I completely feel that. And honestly, like those people are like genuinely my friends. Like it might be kind of weird sometimes, like you're like, what? Like you have friends that you made over Instagram or whatever, but they are like very similar to you. And then, you know, like you make friends with them. And it's like amazing because if I ever wanted to move to New York, I have like a million roommate options. If I wanted to, you know, start an internship for like a well-known brand, like I literally have connections. So it's like it's really like setting yourself up. It's like that quote where it's just like you are who you like surround yourself with.
Yes,
And
I
so
love that quote.
yeah, even though it's like from the internet, like it's completely changed. I recently like this last year became kind of like a micro influencer, which I don't know like how I feel about that word,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I've
that's
made so many like friends and like, you know, like on social media, like I mainly just follow them. So it really influences like my post, my inspiration. Like, you know, I'm more like them than people that are like from my hometown or school, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I think just like posting and like being like just like being yourself, like sometimes it can be nerve-wracking posting and stuff like that, but like you look at all these other influencers and all these other people in like the community, and you're like, well, they're doing it, and like there's no reason why I can't. I know sometimes it's hard to like not compare yourself to them, but I think like just staying on your own track and like just building your own network is gonna leave people like interested in learning more. So I think that's so great.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I think that's what I realized, like starting this podcast and like also starting like micro influencing or whatever, because yeah, I'm still like a very small person, like on Instagram. I'm by no means like
Uh-huh.
famous or anything, but it's like you never realize like what you're actually capable of doing and like opportunities that would happen. Like I've worked with literally several brands, like huge brands, like Amazon and like Summer Fridays and Princess Polly and like so many different brands that like when before you get into it you're just like wow, I'd have to be like so big and so famous to
That's
work with them.
awesome. I know.
So it's literally like you can do anything. You just need to get started and just believe in yourself and like make friends in what it is that you want to do.
Exactly. Oh my God, that's so important. And it's so funny because I'm on your account right now, and like one of the girls I went to high school with like follows you now, and I think that's so interesting. Like how small of a world it is. Like, I don't know.
Oh, everybody's like connected. Like I literally, I don't know, like the micro influencing world is like so big but so small. Like there's so many people, but then you see like who they follow or we become like the same ambassadors for a certain brand or just so many different things. So it's like honestly the world is so small, but I just love making new friends. Like it's my favorite thing in the world.
Me too.
But also, because I wanted to ask you, so how would you describe your personal style and what's your go to everyday outfit at the moment?
So I love like this question. I've always like loved fashion. I always feel like I've had like, I don't know, kind of like a distinct way of dressing. Like, so I just like, I don't know, I love presenting my way and myself in the best way possible. Like, no matter what it is, like, I could be told that an event is like so casual and I'll come in with like this like fancy outfit, but not because like I'm trying to show off or whatever, just because that's just who I am. I always love dressing up rather than dressing down, and I just think like the way you dress is like a very good impression of like who you are as a person. Kind of like, I don't know, it shows your character and just like, I don't know, your standards, I guess. So my fashion style, I would say, is just like very classy. Like I love elegant clothing, and like I've said, have always been the one to dress up even when it was said to be casual. And like regarding specifics, I love incorporating like jeans, a fancier top. I would say like my go-to would be like jeans, a fancier top, like tucked in the jeans with like a jean jacket over it, and like cute shoes. Like my favorite pair of shoes at the moment, I have these like blush, like the feel is like suede and like they're like pink Air Forces, but I don't know, I just love them, and they have like a little bit of like a platform to them, so it gives me kind of like an inch. I'm like 5'4", so I'm like petite, but so yeah, I love that. And like when I wear jeans, I always roll them up to have like that personalized touch. I've just always been like that. I don't know. I'm not like the biggest fan of like jeans all the way to my ankle. I don't know why. I just always like that rolled up look. I also always wear like staple jewelry with like every one of my outfits, no matter like what season, and that includes my two gold rings. One is like a pearl, and then the other one is just like a little bit of like a swirl with like a diamond in the middle. So like I said, I love gold and like just like classy, elegant. And I also wear like my nameplate necklace, and that just like says Olivia on it, and like the O is like diamonds. So um I usually add an anklet in the summer, but not in like the winter. That's usually just for the summer. I would consider myself like very girly girl, and so my favorite color is blush pink, and so I incorporate that a lot in my wardrobe, along with like the neutrals. So I feel like those are like the easiest to mix and match and to create new and like creative outfits. I think that I have so much clothing in my closet, and sometimes like I'm like I don't know what to wear, but then when you kind of start like
Same.
digging and like you're like, okay, like I can create an outfit, and like you just start mixing and matching, and I'm like, oh my god, like I have more outfits than I thought. And then something like just like what I like is I just enjoy purchasing like good quality clothing. And so I would rather like spend money on like one good quality like top or like blouse rather than like a few cheaper looking ones. And that's just like me personally. Um I like good quality, like good material. I think it's beneficial if you're looking for longer lasting clothes and like to kind of save money and not just go out and buy stuff for like every season, because that can get expensive. And I feel like especially because the trends are always changing, that it's good to have those like few staple items that you know will always be in style, rather than trying to like find kind of, oh, like what are like the fashion models wearing online, and like even if you don't like that, you just like assume you have to buy it because that's like what culture and like media tell you. But I kind of just try to stick with like myself. Like if I do like a trend, I'll go out and like buy like a clothing item that kind of matches that, but I don't necessarily like have to buy it just because it's like considered trendy. Like I know the way I dress, and like I think it's a matter of like finding clothing that makes you look best, because obviously everyone's bodies are different, and no matter what top or no matter what bottoms I wear, it's going to look different on me versus the way it looks on you. So I think I personally just find what I like um that looks best on me, and then just stick with my style. But I would say in the summer I will almost always be in like a cute dress with like Steve Madden flats or platforms, because I really like Steve Madden. They just kind of fit my foot well because I have more of like a narrow foot, and so I find them really comfortable and like cute. Or like a skirt. I love skirts and dresses. And like finally, although I love neutrals, I also do love like pops of color. So like for example, I love wearing red. I think red looks super good in the summer. Especially I feel like it looks really good on like with like tanner skin, like I don't know, just when you're tan and like you were red. I think that looks really good. And I also love the color royal blue for a dress, and black and white. That's always like a go-to. So yeah, I would say that's like my fashion style, and like a go-to outfit that is kind of just convenient for me every day.
I love that. Yeah, I definitely love how you do have like your personal style like very down, because that's like what I've been like looking into and have also talked a bunch about on my podcast. If you guys are from my podcast, like I have so many like sustainable like videos and how to like get into it. And that's like literally key, like what you were talking about is like it's better to invest in like an item that's not trendy. I mean, like it could be, but
Yeah.
like not just because it's trendy, but because you like it, it fits your body the way you want it to, and it's going to last you like years, if not like a lifetime. And that's kind of what I've transitioned into also. Like I'm trying to build my closet, like, my gosh, what's it? Oh yeah. I just I just remember what it's called. But yeah, like my capsule wardrobe, and then, of course trends go in and out. So if there is a trend that I really like, I'll, go ahead and just buy that item, but I don't, necessarily like overdo it where I just start a whole new wardrobe with like all the trendy stuff and then get rid of like all my basics.
Right.
So I definitely think that's the best way to do it, and just like finding what you like, especially right now. There's like a thing going on which hasn't really happened before, where, like trends would take so many years, like it would be on a cycle. And right now, I do think like the pandemic and like quarantine kind of like exhilarated this, but there is something called like micro trends, and that's what's happening right now. Like you literally cannot stay on top of the trends right now at this moment because there's so many going on.
Literally like ones that I've definitely haven't even heard of that are like out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and some things, like I'm sure all of you guys have seen, like something will like blow up on the internet, like a certain top or jewelry item or shoe, and then it'll be trendy for like a week or two, and then it's done. Everybody's done with that trend, and then there's a new one, which, hasn't really happened in the past. Like if there is a style of jeans, or like there's like one aesthetic or one trend, and it like dominates like, the whole season at least, and
Uh-huh.
then changes the next year. But now it's like just so many going on. And so I agree with you. I really think it's important to like get your personal style, find things that you like and wear them because you like them, and then to limit consumption, just, splurge on like a couple trendy items that you like and you can see yourself wearing not just once.
Exactly. And like I literally feel like if you were to keep up with all the trends out there, you'd literally go broke because like there's so many. And I think it's almost like not even like I don't know. I don't even think it's right to kind of buy everything trendy because like I don't know, just because like something is trendy doesn't mean I have to like it, you know what I mean? So I don't think that you should even want to like follow all the trends because you want to be original in some ways too. Like you kind of want to be a trendsetter. You kind of want to wear things that maybe uh people will like from you and be inspired from, and then you're kind of like setting this trend or whatever. But I think it's a matter of like individuality. Like obviously not everyone has the same style, and I think that's what's like amazing about fashion is that it's so subjective to the person that there are so many like different clothing items. There's different like styles of clothing, there's different shoes, there's like so many different things. Like you have so many options that like find what's best for you. I think that should be talked about more. Sometimes social media is all about the trends, and I think that can be overwhelming because not everyone's on the same budget, not everyone can afford the same thing. So I think shopping in stores that you like the best and following your dreams and your fashion style will set you up for like the best success and will leave you feeling and looking your best.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love that. That kind of like reminds me of the term as of like a fashion uniform, which if you guys don't know about, I am going to come out with an episode about that, including the capsule wardrobe, because I just recently discovered it, and it just like makes so much sense because kind of like what you're saying is, like if you look at celebrities like Hailey Bieber and like Bella Hadid, for example, like they sometimes do wear like similar things, but at the end of the day, they have their own like personal style, which granted they do have like a stylist, so it's not like
Yeah.
completely them, but at the same time, like, people can own like the same clothing item or sometimes wear like the same outfit, it looks like, but at the end of the day, like even if you didn't see their face, just from looking at their outfit, you're like, oh my god, that one's Hailey Bieber and that one's like Bella Hadid.
Like you can
So
tell exactly.
yeah, you don't want to look like everybody else. And that's literally what my challenge has been this past month, was that I realized if I'm giving into every single trend, like you said, there's literally no originality, and you literally are like every other person, you know what I mean? Like on Instagram, like all the girls, and that's why they're like, oh, it's like
You're
you're
like,
such a basic girl. And like it's okay to be like basic, but at the end of the day, if you guys are all buying the same exact jeans and the same exact top and dressing alike, and then when they change their style, like you change your style, and it just kind of is like a mess. And I feel like it really makes it so that you don't really know who you are in like a personal fashion sense.
you're basically like copying and pasting someone else onto yourself. And like, I've never been the type to kind of like wanna be like someone else. Like, yes, I always love to get inspiration. Like, I find inspiration through social media, through Pinterest every day, but I don't necessarily want to be that person. I want to be myself and find clothing and like things that make me stand out. And like, I don't know, I just feel like people shouldn't want to be so much like I guess maybe like fashion models or like influencers who like people assume have this perfect life, because behind their account they are people too, and everyone has their struggles and everyone's trying to figure things out. And like you said, a lot of these high-end influencers and like fashion people do have stylists, and that's great and all, but they do have like differences, and I think like a very important takeaway from this whole discussion is finding yourself, being individual, and I try to kind of emphasize that a lot on my podcast, and I think it's super important for the world to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know, it just makes it better if like it's okay to be like similar to people, but at the same time like it's so much more interesting when you're like distinctly different from like your friends and stuff. Cuz especially like cuz I feel like it is both ways. Like some friends, like obviously they get together because they have like the same fashion sense,
Yeah.
and they love that, but then there's also groups where they're like complete opposite like fashion aesthetics, which I love because I feel like it's so fun, and like both are completely fine, but at the same time it's like it's really nice to not like blend in, but to like, like you said, like stand out, be yourself. And also like when it comes to me, like, I have like a distinct like body type, at least I think so. And so what looks good on me isn't gonna like maybe look good on somebody else, and like vice versa. So like
Exactly.
me, like I have like a curvier like hourglass shape, so I don't really like to wear like ruffles and stuff like that unless like they're in certain places, but like not that I don't like them, but personally on me, like it just doesn't really work out.
Yeah, yeah.
And like even if it doesn't work out and you like it, go ahead and wear it, but at the same time, like I know what looks good on me, and so I'm not going to do a trend that like literally is going to make me look like shit. Like I don't know, just
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, because everyone has different body types, and like what like looks good or even fits me might not fit someone else, and like that's like how it should be. Like I wouldn't want everyone to like have the same body type as me, or like you know what I mean, like, and that's just how you should be like individual in yourself. I think it all
Yeah,
comes to that.
exactly. Yeah, I totally feel that. And especially when you go to college, like I think a lot of girls, get kind of like confused, or they just want to fit in and they just like wear what their friends are wearing. But like, trust me, like you stand out way more when you are like original. And, like I feel like that's why girls kind of get lost, because even like in a guy's aspect where they're all like trying to date and stuff, it's like you literally look just like all of your friends. So it's like, like there's nothing really like standing out. So you gotta like literally find your personal style and like make it yourself and because you like it.
I love that.
In simple ways to explain it.
So, finally, what are your favorite trends or ways of dressing?
So I'm very much like basics. Like I've just always loved like basics and neutral just cuz I don't know. I am that person and I love like, just being able to use things like multiple times and being practical and it just like feels, like more like myself. Even though I do really love like pops of color and then especially in the summer, but I am overall like a neutral basic girl. Like I feel like probably people that I really resonate with. Actually, one second, let me just make sure I have the last name right because I don't want to mess that up.
No problem.
Like Google it real quick. I'm like, I love this person. I know who it is, but I'm like,
Just forgot their name.
yeah, like their last name. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, so and the people that I really feel like I resonate with, like in a style sense, that's like my everyday go to style. Because, sometimes I do like to change up my style and try something like more crazy and fun.
Yeah, of course.
Um, but it's Hailey Bieber and Dakota Johnson.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I like love them and I love their like style. Like I feel like Dakota Johnson, like she's always wearing, like the straight leg jeans, like a simple t-shirt or like blouse and like her go-to is like sneakers or loafers. Like I love that. And then Hailey Bieber always has like I really like her like blazer moments and simple stuff. Like everything isn't like crazy patterns. Like she's very simple but then also styles it in a way that's not boring, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I love that. And I just like I love trends, but I also just love like the simple like European fashion, I guess, if that makes sense, because there's like definitely out there European fashion where they're just killing it. But I definitely love like more of like the relaxed French girl going to a farmer's market type of thing. I would say that's my style. And yeah, like I guess like kind of my go-to like everyday like outfit is just like straight leg jeans, like a simple top or t-shirt or a button down depending on like the weather. And then I love like sneakers. I've really been into like the chunky boots and like chunky sandals, like platforms, because like you said, you're not that short because I'm 5'2" and so I'm very short and I really need the height. So I love anything that's like platform.
5'2" with some attitude.
Yeah, literally. So that's kind of like my style. But, like there's a trend going around where it's like super colorful. And I really do love that style and that trend too. So it's not that I never do those things or never wear crazy patterns, but I feel like that's more like on an occasion.
Yeah, I agree. I really love like the European style. I've always like I don't know, sometimes I literally just search like Paris fashion and like I get so many like ideas like I don't know. I just think that they dress like in a way that's very presentable and that like stands out. And I tried like I like the ruffles they wear and like stuff like that, like the overcoats, like that's just like my style. Like I love it. I think it's so
Right.
elegant and stuff like that. So I totally agree. And like how you said like a girl walking to like a farmer's market, like that's like so true. Like sometimes like casual and like simple is like better and like more appealing rather than trying so hard to kind of wear this like extravagant outfit, you know what I mean? I think just like simple is always like better to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want the outfit to wear you, like you want to wear the outfit.
Yeah.
And I seriously do think like it's just like I like everybody, like we've been talking about the whole episode, like everybody has a different style and like personality. And so like if you're more like quirky, like maybe you like super colorful, like unique pieces and if you're more, like want like a relaxed, like effortless look. Like I really love like the effortless, like I'm not trying type of like look,
Right.
but you still
Like
look nice and chic and clean and that type of thing.
just like lax and like who you are. Like, and I feel like when you do find your style, like it's amazing because you'll feel like more confident and like you'll know who you are. And like even if someone like, I don't know, I guess is like, oh, like why are you wearing that, you won't get offended because you know it's who you are and it's like what you like to wear. And I think that's better than kind of just trying to blend in, kind of finding your own fashion sense. And there's always going to be people who have something to say. I think just owning what you wear, if you feel good in it, then you should be able to rock it without having to feel bad because of what someone else says about like what you're wearing. I think that's like so important, because
Yeah.
I feel like the world sometimes is so cruel and people have too much to say. But I think just follow your style, like what you like. I think finding inspiration is like awesome because you can kind of try and like wear things that kind of you see online, but then like eventually like find what you look best in, like what you like the best. And then once you find your fashion style, you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's just like also just, like especially like how you know if you like don't know is like you completely like feel like yourself. Like you don't feel like somebody else, or you're trying to like be somebody else because sometimes that happens where like I do buy like outfits or certain tops and like I genuinely like them, but they kind of have like a time and a place in my head of like when I want to wear them. And so I think it is important to have like those go-to outfits where it's like every day if you're running to the grocery store, you're going to like a family's thing or, like hang out with your friends casually, like what's something that, kind of looks effortless, you put it on, but it completely feels like you and you just feel like so confident and that it's getting like your message across, like you're not always wearing something that you kind of feel like uncomfortable and like it's still cute, but you're just like, oh, like, I don't know, like, I wish I had something more different. At least in my case, I'm like something more like simple, but still pretty.
Just like what can I wear that like makes me like feel like me, you know what I mean? Like cuz you want to feel yourself, like you want to look and feel your best self, and like no matter what that is, like any any shape you are, like any size you are, there are clothes out there for you and you can feel confident like no matter what. I feel like sometimes people get so caught up in this like ideal, you can say, body image that social media kind of puts out there and stuff, and that can kind of affect your mental health like a lot, especially during COVID. I know sometimes you can get too caught up in like scrolling through social media and it kind of just makes you feel bad about yourself and puts like a damper on yourself. So I think social media is a great platform to get inspiration, find ideas, but I also think that there should be a limit to it. Find something else to do, like look up fashion like in other ways, like more like on the internet and Google rather than like Instagram or like Twitter or things like that, because you don't want to feel kind of drained or kind of discouraged by looking at someone else's fashion. You want to feel uplifted and inspired, and that's why I think there's nothing wrong with sometimes unfollowing even fashion accounts and accounts that you like think are really good and like that you like love like the style, because I think your mental health is like more important than kind of what someone else is posting or how many likes they're getting based on what they're wearing. I think you should feel confident in yourself and find accounts that make you feel inspired and make you feel like good about yourself, and make you want to try new outfits and that make you end up really liking them. I think that's really important about social media.
No, exactly. Like, I completely feel that because especially now that like TikTok is a thing, you just realize like there are people on there with normal bodies, but then like the people with normal bodies have to classify themselves as like, oh, I'm mid size, oh, I'm plus size, or whatever. And it's like, honestly, like it sucks that we even have to put labels. And then, like, there's girls that are extremely fit and extremely skinny, and like that's amazing for them. Like some of them work for it, or some of them are like literally 16. Like I looked like that when I was 16, but now it's like, no. And then your body and yourself goes through like a pandemic, and you're home all the time, and you work from home, and
It's hard.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's normal to just change and you don't have to feel stuck. Like, it's okay to want to change aspects of yourself, but just knowing that like you're still okay the way you are and things just take time and like, like everybody literally doesn't look that perfect, even if they are still super skinny or whatever. Like, people still have stretch marks and cellulite, or they have aspects like that they don't like, and so I don't know. I feel like it's just a place, like you said, like I really like I was obsessed with social media. I was on it for like literally like 12 hours, it felt like. And so I do think it's important to limit it. Like maybe make a goal for yourself where it's like, okay, I'll be on social media for like 4 hours at max or 2 hours, like depending on what type of person you are. And just like instead, like watch movies, like go on a walk, play with your dogs, like hang out with your friends,
Yeah.
because you won't feel as bad about yourself, because on the internet all you can do is really like compare what somebody else's like what somebody else has versus what you have.
Exactly. There's a time and a place for everything, and like social media, I think it's like addicting sometimes, but it doesn't have to be the only thing you do. Like there's so many other things you can do. Finding things that make you feel good about yourself. Like no one said you have to be on social media scrolling all day. It's really hard to get off like once you're on, but sometimes you'll find yourself in this like drowning in this like scrolling phase, and you're like, oh my god, like I need to stop like right now. But sometimes it's like hard, it's like not your fault, especially with like COVID. Like there's not as many things you can do, you know what I mean, versus like in like a regular year. So it's nothing to kind of like be down on yourself about. It's kind of just like setting goals and like I don't know, just kind of making a change to better yourself, and just to kind of feel your best.
Exactly. Like just being aware, which is like the biggest thing I started working on, like for myself, which is just like being very mindful. So like whether I'm on social media, I'm, eating my food, like I have always ate my food in front of a TV, or I'm scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, and then like I made it a goal, which is actually kind of hard, that I started doing it, is like literally eating my food without any distractions. Like if I am alone or something, I'll, play a little bit of music in the background, but
Yeah,
really like focus on the food that I'm eating and like what I'm doing, because we do so many things, but we're constantly like distracted. Like, we're
preoccupied.
not in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to kind of live in the moment more. Like that's been a goal since like the new year, and it's been working well. Like kind of just like taking each day for what it is. Like there's 24 hours in a day. Like enjoy every moment of it. Life is too fast. Like I feel like sometimes I worry too much. Like I'm like a perfectionist. I think just kind of like living in the moment, like realizing that everything's gonna work out. Like I believe in the quote that everything happens for a reason, and like everything works out in the end. And sometimes like thinking too far ahead can literally give me anxiety and like make me super overwhelmed. And so I've kind of just worked on that goal for like my mental health and just like my overall well-being, and it's been working well. So if anyone listening is feels like they're struggling with living in the like moment, or feels like they're overbeared with things, thinking in the past, I mean, and the future, kind of just try to take each day for what it is, and like appreciate the little things. Like look outside and like see some like a bird, or like look at the beautiful sun, like appreciate all life has to offer, because it's too short, and sometimes we worry too much rather than focusing on what's important. And sometimes the little things you stress over aren't even worth anything in like a day, and you're like, why did I spend my time worrying about this? I could have been
No,
thinking about like
literally.
I could have been thinking about like the outfit I want to wear tonight. Like, come on.
Yeah, like it's like if that's like what honestly helps me. Like seriously, I was like technically diagnosed with like generalized anxiety disorder. So
Uh-huh.
like I just like have really bad anxiety, but at the same time like I don't like I don't know. I'm so weird because I have like two sides of me where like I either completely don't care or I like care a bunch.
Yes.
But it's just like literally if you guys need an episode, like we can totally make that for you guys on how to
That'd
deal
be
with
great,
that,
actually.
because literally that's exactly how I feel. And like something that's also helped me too, if you kind of feel like that, or like you're so bored that all you can do is just think about future stuff, is like literally try to like challenge yourself to not think of anything besides today and what you're doing today.
Yeah,
Don't think about tomorrow, the weekend, next week. Like literally just focus on today, and it's going to make your life and your day like so much more meaningful than if you're like thinking ahead.
exactly. And like this a little bit drifted off because we were just like talking about like fashion. I think it's still so important. Like I feel like it probably affects more people than we like even think. And with like your listeners and my listeners, I think this can help at least one person. Because I know it's hard, and like especially like as like young adults that like me and you are, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are in this age range as well. Like it's so easy to kind of be overwhelmed and stress about your future, like, oh, like what college am I going to go to, what job am I going to get after I graduate, like what's my life going to look like am I going to find like a husband, like am I going to have kids, you know what I mean, like all that stuff can be so draining and stressful. But like kind of like having faith in yourself and like knowing that everything's going to work out. I feel like some people rush their lives too much and like want to grow up so fast, and then when they are grown up they're like, wait, like I didn't enjoy the years before, like I was just so focused on like this moment and now I'm just worried about the next, you know what I mean? And that's why I think it is so important to talk to, even if we did drift a little bit.
No, exactly. Like, I mean, honestly, it's like a universal, like, human experience, you know, like everything with mental health and just like daily struggles of like being a human and like having to do all these things, you know. So I feel like it is very much relatable, and like fashion is hand in hand with like mental health and social media and everything, because, you know, like everybody has to wear clothes. So it's just kind of like, it is a big deal.
Exactly, I agree. And I hope our listeners like got something from that.
No, exactly. So if you guys have any questions, want us to make another video, or I mean, record another episode or something like that. I always say video when it's like, no, this is a podcast, not a YouTube video.
We get
But
confused.
yeah, just, you know, DM me if you need any help. And then I guess that leads into our my last question for you, which is, I know for me, my podcast has influenced my life significantly when it comes to fashion. So, how would you say yours has impacted your life?
I think my podcast has really impacted my life, and I think that's a reason why I really love it, because I like to be impacted by things. I like to always be able to grow and I don't know, just develop as a person, to become my best self. And I think it's a journey. I think that there's no set time that you become your best self. I think you're constantly evolving and growing. And I don't know, especially when I got to college, I really found that I did find myself, and I kind of extracted all the negative opinions and what people from high school thought and all the toxicity that was in that environment, and kind of just focused on myself. And starting a podcast was a really good way for me to talk about how I feel, and kind of just listen to other people's stories on my podcast. And it just feels really good to know that everyone does go through struggles, and to hear from other people is kind of comforting and stuff. And that's why I do love my podcast, because these guests I have, I feel like I really like resonate with what they say, and I'm able to connect with them like on a personal level. And it went as far as me kind of like reaching out to them, like and asking them just like personal questions about like what I should do in like a situation. And I think that's awesome, because sometimes you can be like, oh my god, like internet friends and like internet people are like so not real, and like they act a certain way. But I've really felt like I found genuine people who I have relationships with, and like it just makes me feel like awesome to be like, oh my god, like I have friends that live in like different states that like are doing things that I love to do. And like I think finding people who have the same passions and interests as me is just like so much fun. Because in high school I didn't really find that like people had like, not that people had to have similar fashion styles to me, but kind of just find people that really related with me, like on levels that like mature levels that I feel like I'm able to talk about now with like these people that I've met. um so I think that is really how my podcast has significantly impacted me. And then like just having guests like talk on fashion has allowed me to get new ideas on fashion. And like the amazing part about podcasting is like always learning something new about my guests. But knowing that everyone is different, I think that has made me really understand like the importance of individuality. So it has allowed for me personally to have so much individuality, but I'm also inspired, and take ideas from others, but make it my own. It's definitely allowed for me to have my fashion style like evolve over time, and that is like a big thanks to my podcast and hearing from these amazing fashion lovers that honestly I never thought would even like answer my DM. Honestly, like I reached out to people with like great followings, like in the 40K, 100K, stuff like that. And I'm like, why would they ever like answer me? Like, who even am I? Like, I'm just this new podcaster. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like they do, and you're like, oh my God, like they're actually answering me. And it just like makes me like realize that you shouldn't be intimidated by like a following, because they're just people just like us. And like you never know, like people might feel the same way about me and about you. And like I think just remaining yourself, remaining genuine, like no matter what your following is, kind of, yes, being confident and proud of your work. But my podcast has also made me realize that like everyone is doing their own thing, everyone has their own passion, everyone has their own goals. Supporting each other, I think, is super important. I feel like there's not enough support in the world. Kind of just being happy for others, because that will come back to you. Like, what is it to kind of be like jealous of others and kind of like, oh, like they have more followers than me, this and that. But at the end of the day, you have your own followers, you have your own following, you have your own path. Like no one is the same, and that's how it should be. So my podcast has like allowed me to grow and like become an individual, and broaden my sense of fashion and stuff like that. And I honestly couldn't be more grateful for it. I hope that I continue having guests and creating content for my followers every day, because it's an outlet that I hope to never lose and continue growing. And I truly don't do it for the followers, and I think that's another important thing. Sometimes people get too worked about the followers and almost don't create the content to the best of their ability, because they're so worried about like, oh, is this look good enough, are my followers gonna like this, is this gonna get as many likes as I hope? But just like post it. Like, for example, like I have found that my followers really like my reels and my photo dump. So I have been kind of just like putting those out more, and like my views on my reels have been going up, and like it's been like amazing. And like I love to see it. Like I love to see my views and stuff like that, but I don't do it for the views. And I think that's really important, to just do something because you love it. And the views will, and the likes and the followers will come eventually. So I guess that's my best answer for this question. But I think it's a really good question.
No, I love that. I seriously think that you just explained like literally everything perfectly.
Aw.
And that's how it is too. Like I don't look at anybody like because of how famous they are or their numbers or anything like that, because it's like also everybody has to like start from somewhere. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it is hard when you're smaller and you see that there's like a podcaster or a big influencer and they're like hating on people that are like a lot smaller than them, but it's like everybody has to start somewhere, and so it's like you should, especially at that point, be the person that's like helping people out. Like if I ever find like a small business or something and I like genuinely love their stuff, like I'm always trying to like support them, get them known, like bring them on my podcast, share on my story, like recommend to friends and family. Like you just don't even know like how important like that is, like everybody has a dream and it's better for you to like be supporting them and you're going to get the support like right back from them,
Yes.
just doing that. So I completely agree with you. I feel like literally everybody looks at things as a competition, and that's kind of like the hard aspect. But when, like you said, you're just doing yourself, like I literally with Instagram, even I just love posting photos. I loved like getting dressed up and going to take photos, and then it involved like evolved into something that I wasn't even trying to like get into, but it's just because I was genuine in like the way that I did everything, and I'm not trying to like follow every single influencer. You know what I mean? Like you still have like your originality, and people don't want to follow you if you look exactly the same as everybody else.
Right, because it's like, what am I following that's different from this person? You know what I mean? And like by no means is it easy to kind of not compare yourself, because I don't know, social media is like a world of comparing, unfortunately. But I think it's just like when you know yourself, when you know your worth, you really don't even care to compare yourself, because you're just worrying about working on yourself and bettering yourself and becoming the best version of you. Like who who says you I need to be like my friend? You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to better myself, like I'm trying to be the best version of myself, and everyone should want to just like everyone should look at themselves in their mirror, and that should be their competition. Like that might be cliche, but I think it's so true because like you'll never be someone else, and I think being yourself is the best anyway. So working on yourself, setting goals for yourself is really important. And like let's say like there are obviously no one's perfect, and you might everybody probably has something that they might want to change about themselves or wish they had more of or whatever. But I think it's always okay to want to change a little bit something, but I think you should just kind of do that for yourself. You know what I mean? Not really just to get validation from somebody else. So just focusing on yourself, growing as an individual and a person, I think is like so important, and that will like lead you to lasting happiness because you'll know that you're doing everything in your power to look your best, feel your best, whether that be with nutrition, whether that be dressing, whether that be taking care of your skin, getting enough sleep, whatever. It all starts with you. And so just doing one little thing each day to better yourself will eventually lead to such a big goal in what, a year or even a few months. So I think never giving up in yourself, believing in yourself, not comparing yourselves to others, even though it might be really hard, and kind of just finding your purpose and your meaning in life. And that's different for every person. And I think that's what makes the world go around, and that's what makes everybody beautiful. So, um, I
Yeah,
love
I completely agree with you. I think it's especially like something that I like thought about lately was, like, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this too. Like you have all these people like on Instagram, like in real life, like friends or whoever that you like look up to, and like in some ways you like kind of want to be like them, or they're just so inspirational
yeah.
to you. And like you never think that there's people that think that about you. Like even still right now, I'm like, it's just kind of impossible to think like, oh, there's people that,
I know.
like literally look up to me, they want to be like me in some type of sense or whatever. But then it's like I have had people, reach out like, oh, like how do you get this? And like, oh, I look up to you a lot, or I really like this, or
That's
I
the
love when
best
you come out with these videos or content, or when you post about this. Like literally there's so many people that like literally look up to everybody, like even if it's just in your life, it's like, one of your siblings, a cousin, a friend, like, maybe a shop that you go to like get your whatever you go get. Like for me it's like I go
I
like pick
know.
out like bread or whatever. It's like there's always somebody like kind of watching you or like recognizes you, that like they do admire you in some way.
Yes, and that's like the best thing ever. Like when I get like a DM saying like, "I love this. Like this looks so pretty. Like where did you get it?" Or like, "I love your content." Like that's like amazing. And like I don't like look for those comments obviously, but when I do get them, like it's very like I don't know. It just makes me feel good. It makes me like be like, "Oh, like I'm making a difference in the life of somebody else." Like how amazing. Like people are from all over the world. There's so many people that I'm sure are inspiring, and like for someone to kind of reach out to me is like I don't know, just like a really good feeling, and I'm sure you can relate. And I think that's what kind of having a platform and like a podcast or like an Instagram page is all about, like kind of like being yourself, and like people will like follow that and like notice that, and it's just like such a special thing. And that's why I just love it, and I love being able to connect with like people like you who's from like so far away, but we share this interest in fashion and lifestyle and like being your best self, and this has allowed for us to collaborate and kind of share both of our passions and merge that into one episode for many people to hear, you know what I mean? And who knows who we will touch, and I think that's so beautiful and what it should be about.
I know. I love this episode. Like,
I
it's
know.
just so much fun. I hope you guys have like seriously gotten something like from this, whether it was like fashion or inspiration or just like feeling like, it's relatable. Like, so many people are going through like what you're going through. And honestly, like, another way that I like to look on it, to leave it like on a good note, is like there's so many people that you look up to or inspire you, but you never say anything. Like, like you have all these like silent like supporters that just like love you or think you're so pretty, or things like that. And so I have tried to make that more of like my goal, like when I can, to like DM the person or comment on their photo or
Right.
text them. You know what I mean? Because there's so many people, like I think about it and I'm like, gosh, like I think so highly of so many people,
I
but I
know.
don't even tell them. Like I don't like, you know what I mean?
Sometimes, like,
You just think about it.
yeah, it's like sometimes you just think of it, but I feel like actually like taking that extra step and like letting them know about how you feel is like so much of it. It's just like so great for like you and that person, you know what I mean? I think like just being able to communicate, like it'll make the person's day and it'll make you feel good, of course. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. Like I loved it. I think like I had so much fun and it was amazing like collabing with you, Delia. And so I guess that wraps this episode up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We, both of us, I'm sure, love hearing from you guys and like getting advice and just like any suggestions you have for us. So I hope this inspired someone. And whenever you're listening, I hope you guys have a great day or a great evening. And thank you so much again. And thank you, Delia, for collabing with me. Again, I loved it. And I'm so excited to put this episode out live.
Yes, me too. Well, thank you so much. I guess it's like for having me on and having you come on at the same time. It was so much fun. And yeah, I just hope that this was helpful. I feel like it was a good little like therapy and also get to know us since we normally, just interview other people all the time. So I hope that this was an interesting episode and you guys do have a wonderful day. And of course, we will tag each other and our socials are all on our podcast Instagrams. So it'll be easy to find us.
Sure. Thank you guys.